Hi ladies, I wanted to share a quick tutorial with you on how to make these photo booth mini albums. They are meant to hold the photo booth pictures that you get. They have the photo booths at the fair, and they have them at the mall now, and you get the long strip of pictures that has 4 or 5 pictures on it, and these little mini albums are designed to hold those. So these ones I made for Valentine's Day, and all you need is some patterned paper and some thicker cardstock for your outside. These two that I made, I used a book binding along the edge, but my tutorial today I'm going to show you how to do it without the book binding, just in case you don't have that. I had this book binding from Making Memories, and I've had it for a couple years, so that's what I used on the edge of these. But if you don't have that, that's okay. I'm going to show you how to make it without that. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to need are 5 or 6 sheets of pattern paper, and my papers, the papers that I'm using are the King Company Lovely Pack. So I have six papers. You don't necessarily have to use 6. You could do 4 or 5 if you wanted. I probably wouldn't do more than 6, only because once you start adding your photos and your embellishments in here, it's going to get pretty thick. So I probably wouldn't do more than 6 pages. So here's my 6 pages. These need to be 5 inches wide by 8.5 long. Okay, 5 inches wide by 8.5 long. Okay, and again, you need 5 or 6 of these. They don't have to be double-sided. Mine are, but they don't have to be. If you have paper that isn't double-sided, that's perfectly fine. Okay, then you're going to need 2 pieces of a heavier weight cardstock, so a Bazzill cardstock, or a heavier weight than your inside pages. Because it's going to be the front cover, it needs to be a little bit sturdier. I'm using a heavier weight craft cardstock. You need 2 of them, because one's going to be the front and one's going to be the back, and they're going to be a little bit bigger. So you're going to cut them at 2 5/8 wide by 8 3/4 long. So 2 5/8 wide by 8 3/4 long. Okay? And then I am not going to do the book binding in this tutorial because not everybody has book binding. So I cut another piece of paper that coordinated. It again is about the same weight as this craft cardstock. And this is 1.5 inches wide. Wait, I lied. I'm sorry. It's 1 1/4 wide by 8 3/4 long. So 1 1/4 wide by 8 3/4 long, and again, this is about the same weight as my craft cardstock. This is going to be my binding. Okay? Okay, so your next step is you need to score all of your 5 inch by 8.5 inch sheets of paper, and you're going to score those right in half. So because it's 5 inches wide, you're going to score it right at 2.5. Okay? And then once you score it, you can fold it in half. And that's going to be the first page of your album. Okay? So I'm going to do that really quickly, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got all my pages scored and folded in half, and they're ready to go. So I'm going to set those aside. And now I'm going to score my binding piece of paper, the piece that's going to bind the book together. So again, I use seam binding tape, book binding tape on my other books, but not everybody has this or has access to it, so I'm going to show you another way that you can do it. So earlier in the video I told you that this piece of paper was supposed to be 1 1/4, but that is not right. I told you wrong. This paper needs to be 1 3/4 wide by 8 3/4 long. Okay? 1 3/4 wide by 8 3/4 long. Okay? And you're going to put it on your scoreboard, or if you don't have a scoreboard, that's fine, however you score things. And you're going to score it at 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm just going to flip it because it's easier, and I'm going to score it again at 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so now I have 3/4 of an inch with a score line, then I have 1/4 of an inch and another score line and 3/4 of an inch. Okay? And then what I'm going to do on mine before, actually I think I'm going to fold it first. So I'm going to fold it in half. Fold it on the score lines. I use my bone folder to get that tight. Okay, just like that. Okay, so that's going to be, I don't know if you can see, that's going to be the edge of my book. And what I'm going to do, just to add a little interest, is I'm going to punch with edge punch along this along the paper right here on the edge. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I used my EK Success punch, border punch, all along the edge, and this is the border punch that, oops, this is the border punch that looks like pinking shears, and then it has little tiny hearts on it. It's really cute. So I used that one, and so this is what my binding looks like now. It has the edge on it. I don't know if you can see it better now. Okay, so there's my binding, the edge of my book, and now we're going to put the book together. So I'll be right back. When you put these pages together, you need to make sure that you use something kind of strong. So you could use this red tape, but I'm going to use this Scotch quick dry adhesive. I love this stuff, and it dries really quick, and you don't have to use a ton of it to get the pages to stick together. And if you put a little bit too much on, it does not make your paper warp like a lot of the glues do. Okay, so I'm going to stick these two together. So I'm going to put glue on one side and then stick them together. I'm going to line them up, try to line them up the best I can. So let's see. And again, I don't put a ton on. It sticks pretty well. Oops, my finger in it. And just try to line up your pages the best you can. Line up the front pages because that's the part you're going to see. The back's going to be covered by the binding. So I would worry more about lining up the front of the pages and the edges. Okay, and then you just go to your next one, and you're going to do that with all 6 of your pages. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back.